So we have negative and zero exponents on this video. So we have powers with negative exponents, and then we're going to have powers that have zero exponents. So what we need to understand is that we have numbers with powers. So let's use the base of 5. 5 to the first, 5 to the 0 power, and then we can go just like in a number line down to the negatives. And it'll keep going, it'll go past this. Move that over a little bit, there we go. All right, so what is actually 5 cubed? It is 125. How do we get to the next one down? So 5 squared is 25. How did we get from 125 to 5? We divided by 5, which is the base in this case. So if I divide each one by 5, I will get to the next one down in the system. I can also multiply to go the other direction. So 25 divided by 5 is what 5 to the first power is, and it's 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 1 divided by 5, and watch how I do this, 1 divided by 5 is a fraction. And then 5 squared, this negative sign here is telling you to put 5 squared in the denominator. And I'll explain that in a minute. So if you see the pattern, we have the whole numbers. It gets down to 1 when there's a 0 power, and then it basically, the negative sign is telling it to flip. So 5 squared would go in the other part of the fraction. When we are doing something like x cubed, x squared, x to the first power, x to the 0 power, x to the -1, x to the -2, and x to the -3, it's the same concept. So the base in here is an x. So we would take x cubed and divide it by the base of 1x. So this is your division rule, 3 minus 1, which is 2, becomes x squared. Then if we want to get to the next one down, we divide by the base, which is x. Again, x to the first, so 2 minus 1 is 1, or x. Then if we divide by the base, which is an x, anything divided by itself is 1. Then over here, this is telling us that we're basically doing the same thing. It's just going into the different part of the fraction. So this is 1 over x, this is 1 over x squared, and this is 1 over x cubed. So what you need to understand when it comes to the 0 exponent is that anything to the 0 power is 1. So if I have something really huge and they tell me, there's a 0 out here, and they tell me evaluate if x is 6, y is 2, and z is, let's say, -1, and you don't want to be calculating and calculating and calculating this. What you need to pay attention to is look first what you have. This exponent is touching the parentheses. That means this 0 affects everything in here. So it's like multiplying 16 times 0, 24 power to 0, 36 power times 0. This is a first power times 0. Everything would be to the 0 power, and it's basically taking this whole thing and dividing it by itself. The answer to this, it doesn't matter, and you don't want to take the time evaluating it if this completely goes away and the answer is 1. Because it's like this. 5 divided by 5 is 1. X divided by x is 1. -2, x to the 36, y to the 24, z to the 16th, divided by itself is 1. So anything to the 0 power is 1. So remember that exponents affect whatever it is to the left of it, and it's touching. This 0 is touching the parentheses. That means it's affecting everything inside. Okay, if I had -2 x squared y to the 0 power, the only thing in here that is the 0 power that it's affecting is the y, because that's what it's to the left of it that it's touching. So this is really -2 x squared, because this is like times 1. So this ends up being just a 1. So that's how the 0 power works. So the negative exponents are going to be basically your negative exponent, the negative sign in your exponent here is only there to tell you to take whatever this is and put it in the other part of the fraction. Once you do that, the negative sign goes away, you still have your power, and you still have your base, and you still have to do something with it, but it's going to ask you to put it somewhere else. Since this was basically a whole number and this was in the numerator, that means this 5 to the first power goes to the denominator. And remember, in fractions, when you're dividing something out, there's a 1 left, not a 0. So don't put 0 on the top. So let's say I have negative exponents. So let's say I have, actually here, let me do number 34 on your paper. So on your pink page, number 34, that's at the bottom. So we have a 7, a d to the negative 6th power, multiplied by negative 4, d to the negative 2nd power, and that's all divided by 2 times d to the negative 4th power. Now I cannot, if they were to give me the value of d, I cannot successfully multiply this out if I have things that are not already in the right place. So with this one, move this over a little bit so we can go to the right here. So this is telling us that we need to move something, but you need to look at the exponent. What is it touching? Not one of these exponents is touching a parenthesis, so it's not going to affect everything. This negative 6 is only affecting the d. This negative 2 power is only affecting the d. This negative 4 is only affecting this d in the denominator. Now, if you have a negative here in your regular problem, that's plus or minus, making something positive or negative. But a negative sign in an exponent is saying, move this d squared to the other part of the fraction. So we have to look at things one thing at a time, and I'm going to keep my stuff in parentheses just to help me monitor if I've done everything. All right, so the 7 that we have here is going to stay. The d to the 6th power and the negative 6th power is telling me to move this to the bottom. So it's going to go to the bottom. In this parentheses, the negative 4 does not have an exponent, so it stays at the top. And the d to the negative 2nd power is going, it tells me d squared needs to go to the bottom. So I put it in the bottom. Okay, then I look at the bottom part. The 2 does not have an exponent, so it stays as a 2. The d has a negative 4, so it's moving to the other part of the fraction, so it's actually going to go up to the top. Okay, and then I'm going to go down here with it. So I have on the top a 7 times a negative 4 times a d to the 4th, so that's really negative 28, d to the 4th, and on the bottom I have a 2, and I have d to the 6th and d squared, so remember this rule is to add these exponents, so I really have d to the 8th. Now I need to look at, can I simplify anything? Well, negative 28 divided by 2 is negative 14, and I have d to the 4th and d to the 8th, so this is basically 4 d's being multiplied together on the top and 8 on the bottom. And whenever you have multiplying in your fraction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that means that I can cancel these out. So d over d is 1 whole. D over d is 1 whole. D over d is 1 whole, and d over d is 1 whole. And notice that these are in the denominator. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So my exponent is a 4. Then I look at, okay, is there anything else that I could simplify? No, it's finished. So for number 34, you would get negative 14 over d to the 4th power.